Hi guys, I welcome you all to a brand new subject of your CA final called the CA Final Advanced Auditing and Professional Ethics. So before we dwell into the syllabus in detail, the huge syllabus, right? So I thought before we discuss anything in the syllabus, we should discuss what the syllabus is. You have a clarity on why there are three modules and why we are also following the same pattern of having the three modules. Of course, during our classes, we will interchange the order. I will also explain you why we do that in some cases. Obviously, because there are certain standards that you have to understand before learning the reporting standards. There are certain standards that can be better understood once you know the reporting standards. So I will do a lot of realignment and rearrangement and a neat order of how to understand the subject in the best possible way, already well designed for you. So I will take you through all of that. The main idea behind doing this video is for having a complete clarity on what we are dealing with, because I also understand as final students it is important for you to plan your studies very carefully. So this short explanation on how should you plan, and I know many of you, you have been students of mine in the past. You know that I don't have the habit of doing selective study, right? So whatever you see on screen right now, that is all the 19 chapters will be discussed at length and in detail. So if you later going to ask me which one is important or which one can I leave, if there is something that you can leave, I would have left it in the first place. So if I don't cover anything of what you're seeing on screen, you can consider that as not important, and you can, of course, there are certain topics. I'd not say that you have to be perfect about each line and each topic. Practically not possible that too at final level, having so much of syllabus to deal. But uh, in today's time, more important that we are more aware of what it is rather than simply by hearting things, because what expectations are there out of a CA final student are also about the awareness and its execution rather than mere remembrance. Of course, it is a exam. They will still test you on your memory a little bit. Their 100 marks is not going to be a test of memory alone. It is going to be a test of understanding. It is going to be a test of your execution. Some people understand things well, but when a question is asked in the exam, they may not be able to say that, this comes under this particular section and this is how we have to deal with it. So and so standard says this, and that is exactly why the auditors are going to do like this. This is what the auditor is going to give in as, because the standard says so. You can't, like in quick time, establish these things and tell. And also, when the clock is ticking downwards, that is in a 3-hour exam, already you are under a lot of pressure of doing the final exams. You are already having a drained out experience of the articleship. So I know how the mindset also works. That is exactly why I thought this video, the first one, should be about this, where basically sit and discuss very clearly what is there in the entire syllabus. By the time we finish the syllabus, you will really know, okay, that this is what is there in the syllabus. But that is not something that should do. And the approach should not be that way, that by the time you finish you get to know. It is like, after watching the climax of a movie, it is like, okay, now I understand what this movie is all about, right? But I think all of you do some kind of a guesswork when you go to a thriller movie, right? So I'm not saying this is some thriller. You already have, what do you say, understanding towards auditing. And the guys who are at final level should understand it is nothing short of a thriller, right? You also know some of you might have worked even in the big fours, and some of you working in quite big firms right now, which are all using automated softwares, where kind of surprises that the world throws up today. I've boxed out something and kept, if you can see on screen, topic number 12, digital audit and all that stuff, where it has a little bit of explanation on robotic automation. So things are getting way, way interesting in the field of audit. Uh, I think that is how every profession evolves, right? So the same kind of audit what we did in 1950s is not what we did in the 80s. Same way when the world evolved in the 90s and 2000s, where the dot-com bubble was there, then came the e-commerce explosion. Once all that happened, we thought, okay, what is all this going to be, relating to us? But today you see digital audits, right? And then we've survived a pandemic, once in a century kind of a story, that pandemic. And all of those people who have experienced articleships during pandemics, they now are, kind of doing virtual practice because they know how things work. And I have had so many people that in the recent times have been completely on work from home modes. Is a great advantage as well as disadvantage. Everything has its pros and cons, right? So without moving any place, earlier people had aspirations, go abroad, I have to be in that place, work on site. Sitting in India is one of the most sought after destinations in the country. I mean, like in the world today, our country. But apart from all that, also the profession of audit still stands out because of its mere compulsion. Is not a choice, it is a compulsion in many cases. So I thought, we should clearly know what is our scope of understanding. That is what even we do in an audit, right? So I think without wasting any more time, I'll straight away get into that. I've already designed this and kept so that I don't waste time on just writing something. And Institute has split this into three modules. I have also kept it the same. Generally, what I do is, kind of alter a little bit and go ahead. But this time, even their alignment is perfect. So I didn't really kind of do anything to spoil that. So I've kept module one exactly to what the institute has aligned it. But internally, we will be doing one topic up and down. That definitely we will do. And going forward from the next session, uh, you will try to understand what we are doing in that. So also, I've added something for you in module one there, which is called an auditing recap, because I know many of you are very active in the field of audit practically, but academically, if I ask you the definition of audit, many of you might not be able to spot it on, right? Don't challenge me saying that what are you asking a final student. I understand all of you are very good, but I thought, a little bit of recap surrounding going back to the definition, going back to those 8 steps of audit. And this will all be like, if you have been a student of mine in the past, then it'll be a like a transition from our inter to final. You've seen a lot of concepts together in inter, right? So I want to just bring up that uh, 8 step chart. And first timers who watching my class final, we have a fantastic method of understanding the entire audit program, ranging from taking up the engagement to finishing and giving a report. We have an 8 step neatly designed process. And if you watching this are my students, you already should have got that picture, right? We will see all that. It's going to be a great thing. But like I told you, it's not now just going to be what those 8 steps are. It's going to be more than that. Not just trying to understand what those 8 steps are, how things are done, more than it, the execution of each and every standard. I guess many of you in articleship would have faced situations where you know it is not just that knowing something will help. You should also know how to use it. Like it's like having a fully loaded gun, not knowing how to shoot will be of no use, right? Same logic applies here. You are loaded with knowledge and you don't know how to apply it. It is going to go nowhere. Also, one of the reasons I'm doing the small recap, just about a couple of pages that I've just put content, reintroducing you to the definition of audit, taking you through those basic inherent limitations like that. And then I guess we'll recollect what the standards are, just a flow through so that we get into the concept of audit smooth. And then comes in, the aspects of all the chapters lined up. But there, it's like I said, I'll just do a little bit of realignment and rearrangement, so where we can talk about a few things. And once that recap is done, you are already into the groove. And then I'll take you through the quality control aspects, which I guess you should remember, ranging from the definition of engagement partner, who's an engagement partner, who's called staff, and what is the relationship between engagement partner and engagement team. Words like DSR, if you remember, direction, supervision, and review, and the mandate of SA 220 to get a compulsory quality control for listed entities. So, what does SQC 1 talk about, and what does SA 220 in parallel talk about? Once an engagement partner's entire role is done, still remember 6 quality control aspects. And if you remember, is going to be one of my favorite words, or like one of my favorite starts because I keep pulling your leg with how much of what you know from Inter. And I do know that, like if it was a live class, I'd see strange looks on many people's face. They'll be like, and in fact, they would have studied that with me only. That is the best part. They would have been a would have mine in inter, and still doesn't matter where you studied or what you studied. As long as you remember, it's good. But if you don't worry. I'm right here to solve that as well. Okay. I thought we should when we start a subject, to start on a very positive note. That is why I'm explaining all this. Going by that, words like DSR, risk assessment procedures, NTE, these are all our like favorite shortcuts, right? We keep recollecting those things as well. Start with SQC1 and SA220. Then we have to actually get into the groove of audit and discuss audit planning. But then what ICI did was introduce some general audit principles or the 2 series standards of 240, 99 and joint audits 402, which is something that some of you might not have seen it in Inter. So we will now be talking about 402 full scale, the entire chapter on planning the three use of work done by others. 600, what we are talking about, work done by other auditors, that is auditors of components. 610 is a very extensively discussed internal audit standard using the work of an internal auditor. 620 is about using the work of an expert, and 540 an estimate. So that chapter is going to be a really interesting one. With doing less of work and using kind of work from the others, but whole responsibility belongs to the external auditor. So how do we uh, make use of that work using these three standards is going to be a very interesting discussion. And no doubt that chapter number 4 is one of the fantastic chapters of your syllabus. Is called materiality, risk assessment, and internal control. As such, today a career line for you know many chartered accountants who have qualified in the recent times. Recent times, when I say, I'm talking about like the post-COVID times, last post 2020s. The importance of everything going digital, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the need for digitization went up. The chain reaction that takes place after this. Need for digitization brings need for controls. Obviously, when you go into a digital world, all the risks of the IT world are there. I think all of you studied that sentence. Emerging IT risks. Whatever the benefits that IT gives you. I used to keep mentioning in my classes, IT is like a buy one, get one free offer. You buy comfort, get risk for free. So whenever you go for digitization, things would be very nice when you go for digitization, when you pay for it, and when you fully implement. Implementational aspect risks are there, right? Design risks are there. That's a spectacular topic in itself, right? And making risk control matrices. What again, every risk is not something serious. So understanding the line of materiality involved in that. Materiality, assessment, internal controls. Wonderful chapter, guys. We'll discuss that at length and detail. Then 5 and 6, what institute has done is they just gave you only the pictorial representations of these standards, because they believe that standards from past 500 series, and the entire 500 series actually from 500 to 580. One hell of a series, right? 5 series is audit evidence. I think all of you know about how important sufficient appropriate audit evidences are for the audit. So it is really important that we have a clarity on it. I'm going to just tell you something interesting here. The institute has just given a pictorial representation of all those standards for you to scan through and get back things from your memory. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to recollect all those standards. Of course, there is no question of like wastage of time. Whenever we do something, it is going to be definitely knowledge oriented. Definitely, the discussion there would be of help, and a long time ago that you did those standards, it will also be a great help for you to catch up all those very quickly. And then when we finish all of gathering evidences, of course, there is also documentation in between. So they haven't mentioned it exclusively. Standard number 230 also comes in between, of course. After all that is done, we'll finally come down to our reporting. So module 1 is going to be the entire audit coverage, which precisely is an upgraded version of your entire CA inter. Okay, an upgraded version of the entire CA. Now, many of you might be thinking that, yeah, this entire thing is something that I already know. and I already studied in India. If I give a cursory glance, it will be enough. Despite studying very properly, okay, putting all the effort, studying so properly, people are not able to cross 45 in CA final audit. Okay, and let me be honest here, because I am not the one to just keep encouraging and motivating endlessly, saying that everything is out for you. There, go and get it. No. You understand? Yes, there is always a good, but the fact that one needs to understand writing a CA final audit paper is an art in it, and you cannot train somebody to exclusively become an artist to write, and only when you know the answers from inside, and once you associate with the subject, that writing quality will. When I see two papers, I can clearly tell this fellow has done articleship, and that is why he's writing an answer like this, and this fellow has never been to articleship, and that is why it is writing like. So both might be writing the answers. There is a difference in a CA inter student writing the same answer question. You ask both of them. Once you teach a standard, final students are expected to understand the practicality of the question is also framed like that. I will discuss all about those kind of things once we are discussing all these in our classes. But I said the ride is going to be a fantastic one, because look at the spread of the syllabus. Okay, and there are so many interesting experiences that I can share. I have shared many of them in the past with some of you guys from Inter. But like I said again, many of you are listening to these classes, or are getting associated with me for the first time. So I might be sharing some of the experiences. Like for example, standard number 501 has about inventories. I have some fantastic experiences of inventory verifications and valuations. Not only that, bank audits, NBFC audits, right? Finding of frauds, all of that. That's going to be a very interesting discussion. Module one. Module 2, I don't see it to be very difficult, guys. Module 2 is a very general oriented, generally moving. And since you got to be part of today's world, where chartered accountants are not limited to only doing the audit anymore. So, chartered accountants are supposed to get into multiple fields today, because you can't survive by only doing audit. So, you can take up certain special engagements. All those special engagements, which are in the nature of SREs, that is standards on review engagements, standards on related services, standards on assurance engagements. I think you've heard all this at the inter level. You have not done those standards. We will be doing all of them in detail. And if you have been a student of CA final in the old syllabus, like anything before, uh, you know, uh, 2024 May, and then you are doing this, you have couple of topics that I've boxed out there. Two current generation topics. Topic number 12 is on digital audit and assurance. It has remarkable content inside that I've gone through it. And when I will be doing that with you, is going to be really amazing, because I can go on and go on those topics. But anyway, like I have to pull back and limit myself. Because today, right now, how can you do an audit without physically present somewhere? Or, how can you pull off an audit by just using the digital means? Can we use concepts like blockchain, concepts like virtualization, robotic automation, which is one of the robotic process automation, fastest growing topic. Like I think all of you heard of things like Chat GPT, uh, integration of Chat GPT tools like Excel. So right now, since so many things are available, life is very difficult for an accountant. If you're an auditor, making sure that like you give a report which in time covers all this, that's going to be a bigger challenge. But anyways, we will learn all those methods, and it's going to be nice. And I'm hoping that you guys can get into these areas into real time work, because like in let me also just introduce to people who are watching this for the first time. This is my 12th year of practice, right? If I'm not looking that old, then, but other than that, all I'm saying is, I mean, I've right from the time I qualified, I've been teaching. So 12 years that I'm teaching, and it's also the same time that I'm practicing. And every year where we have done audits over a period of time, once I've fully been into teaching, I've reduced doing a little bit of practice, but whatever we see there, I've done almost all that, including the latest concepts of even audit recent. I've helped somebody try to understand how that reporting is, and some digital tools. This is out of my personal interest that I went into learning certain digital tools. And erstwhile, I used to teach EIS, Enterprise Information Systems, at the inter level. So when I used to teach that I used to teach only out of passion, because there are so many things that chartered accountants can learn, out of the IT world, and make more money out of that. Actually, beyond anything else, let me get straight on the point. But one of the very neglected aspects. Well, we will anyway when we get there. We can 13 and 14 are very procedural topics. I guess all of you are well aware of group audits, which are audit of consolidated financial statements, and then we are talking about audit of banks and NBFCs. So module 2 is going to be a very easy module, read and understand type of module. No much of practical orientation, or I don't think much of exposure and experience will also be there with you. Even if you are an article student, I'm not really sure if you have experience on topics between 8 to 14, because many of you might not have had the opportunity to do an audit of bank or NBFC. You might not know anything about that. Some of you might have not involved in group audits. Some guys who are from big fours, maybe you have been a little lucky in getting to audit of consolidated financial statements. But sometimes even that, no, the senior managers or senior people will take care, not generally involving article student. But if you have been involved, you're lucky. Otherwise, like I said again, doing those versus reading it for academic purposes is again, a different thing. So you will have a very simple read in module 2. Module 1 you will enjoy and do it. Module 2 you will understand and do it. Am I saying that you will not enjoy module 2? No. Module 2 is more procedural compared to module 1. So in module 2 it's a simple, student teacher thing. I'll teach you, you understand it, we will execute it for exam. It's going to be like module 3 again is again what do you say, very interesting version, but they are very procedural topics. The first three of them are very, very procedural topics. Audit of a public sector undertaking, internal audit, many of you might have been involved in that. And then these three hardcore topics of today's time, because a lot of money is being pumped into startups, so they all get into doing due diligences. And investigation is a very serious topic, because also with all this growth there is also a lot of possibility or a fraud factor. So governments are interested in putting up investigators. Sometimes investigation happens statutorily, sometimes investigation also happens at the request of, like there are two broad categorizations, statutory and non-statutory. So investigation can happen at the request of several people. Who are those? What sort of investigations are there and all that? One very emerging topic that you can see there, which is going to be of a lot of interest today, is forensic audit. Institute has special forensic audit standards being released, but again, like I said, for your coverage, it's a very, very limited domain. Trying to understand what forensic audit is, what its objectives are, definitely different from the regular audit. So that is exactly what this is a topic. So 17, that should be a topic of special interest. Different people might choose to have interest on different areas. 18 is again a brand new topic that you might have not heard of, no matter whether you studied inter and came to final, or were a student of final from the old syllabus transitioning into the new syllabus. Doesn't matter, because the topic was not there. 12 and 18 both I boxed out and kept for that reason, right? Because 18 is going to be a very interesting chapter. What it talks about is ESG, which is the budding topic of the day. Enterprise, right? The environment, social, and governance requirements, that is for ESG, and SDG, which is nothing but sustainable development goals. So, two of those topics that are going to, again, how will you report in this context? What does sustainable development mean? Back in time in strategic management, you would have seen of sustainable competitive advantage, right? Now we are talking about sustainable development. And what do you mean by sustainable development? ESG reporting has become compulsory for Indian companies also now, and some of the companies where money has been here, and some of them are whose parent companies are there elsewhere, right? So those also they have to do the ESG reporting. It's quite common in the NASDAQ listed companies that ESG reporting is mandatory. Here now it is mandatory with certain things. That's going to be a new chapter. I mean, it's a very procedural chapter trying to just give you details about what it is and how it is evolving. But still, learning that is of high interest. And of course, our fantastic chapter number 19, the last chapter, which is professional ethics, which covers actually the things from the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. So, writing that, I'll write it here. Chartered Accountants Act 1949, what does it talk about and how does it? So, in all, we have about 19 chapters. It also goes to say that it's a long ride and slowly, patiently, I want all of you to do these chapters, a list of how these chapters are covered, which one to be done, what order to be followed, which video to watch first, which video to follow it up with. The list is arranged, things are put up very clearly. Okay, the modules are split up and given to you, everything is taken care of. Just believe what I am doing, believe in yourself, and the flow will be smooth. Before I wrap up this particular video here, I just want you to understand that in all, the exam is for 100 marks, whereby you have MCQs for 30 marks and question answers which are descriptive in nature for 70 marks. For those people who are thinking that MCQs we can mark up and get 30 and 30, please understand, yeah, getting 30 on 30 is good. Getting 30 on 30 is challenging. At the same time, somebody can get 30 on 30, they definitely be able to do well as well in the 70 mark part. So this is just for an information thing here. You already are aware of how this works. You've been in this zone and inter. Coming to final is no different. Questions in the case-based scenarios here in the MCQs, so what are called as case-based scenarios, right? When these become case-based, some MCQs are 2 marks each, so they might turn out to be very tricky. How to handle them, what to do with them, how we will make the most out of those kind of MCQs, all those also during the class itself. I will clearly mention what line of a standard can potentially turn out to be a 1 or 2 marks line, and what could turn out to be a potential 4 marks or 3 marks question. And we are definitely not aware of what kind of questions are always going to come in the exam. The spread of chapters is so huge that even if they touch for one question from each chapter, they're still left with so many chapters and so many questions. So, once again, just as I told you in the beginning, I'm reminding you that there is nothing unimportant. This can be left. We can always do all that, but like I said, generally one needs to understand how these things work. We will take care of that. I will obviously make sure that you understand everything, and reaching out to me when you don't understand something, one of the most important things that you should do. And even if there are certain basic things, yeah, this in the very first video I want to clarify, because many people believe that I am a final student, I should not ask these kind of basic doubts. No, a doubt is a doubt whether it comes at any level. So in my very first video with you on syllabus discussion itself, I'm telling you, since we are going to drive this through for a long time, whenever you have any doubt about any topic, no matter how serious it is or simple it is, doesn't matter what your beliefs around those are. Okay, if you believe it is very tough, so be it, ask me. If you believe it is very simple, still ask me. It is very simple, no, let me also try and put. If something is very difficult that even I don't know, let me also try and figure out the answer for you and get it. Okay, so do not hesitate, guys. Life is a process of learning. Okay, so I don't think I have come and sit here directly by knowing certain things before. All these are learned things, and it doesn't matter whether you're a foundation intern or a final student. And like I said, a doubt is a doubt. Don't have hesitations. Please make sure that whenever you have very smallest of anything, I don't think you should get, because the explanations are going to be clear detail. Because all these years, whatever doubts people have asked me, I will already answer all that through our classes only. There is hardly any scope for that I will leave generally. If you can definitely get doubts, no doubt can be ruled out. But like I said, majority of them I will cover, because what if this happens? What if that happens? Can it happen like this? Based on all the doubts that people generally get, you already will answer all of that. Despite answering all of that, if you still have something more, do not twice. All right, guys. So let me wind up this session here. I want to keep this short. That is simple syllabus discussion. I will see you in the next class where we are going to start off with our audit recap, where we will kind of go ahead and discuss right from the definition to certain basic things about audit, so that then we can move on with the kind of flow and all of that. And also I will give you certain instructions of how to maintain notes and what to do and how to make the most of our classes. I will see you in the next session, guys. Thank you.